The EPF saw first quarter investment income fall 25% to 9.66 billion ringgit amid a volatile market environment. However, the effect of the turmoil in the equity markets was cushioned by other more stable asset groups such as fixed income. Given the current global and domestic environment, Deputy CEO Investment Datuk Mohammad Nasir Abdul Latif says the EPF's results are commendable. Equities, which make up 39% of the pension fund's total investment assets, contributed 4.16 billion ringgit or 43% of total investment income for the quarter. Meanwhile, fixed income investments returned 4.85 billion ringgit, equivalent to 50% of the quarterly investment income. Mohammad Nasir says, despite the volatile nature, equities have higher long-term expected returns. He expects this asset class to help ensure that the fund is able to declare dividends of at least 2% above inflation. As for the rest of the year, he says the global market is seen remaining shaky, but points out that downturns spell an opportunity to purchase fundamentally strong stocks at attractive prices. The EPF will also be deploying more cash into alternative assets to maximize returns. Petronas witnessed a 9% increase in first quarter net profit thanks to higher sales volume and a weakened local currency. Earnings stood at 14.2 billion ringgit on the back of a 7% hike in top line to 62 billion ringgit as it sold more petroleum products and LNG, coupled with a faltering of the ringgit against the US dollar. President and Group CEO Tan Sri Wan Zulkifli Wan Arifin says the improved performance demonstrates the strength of its three-pronged strategy and resolute execution focused on continuous overall business improvement as well as commercial and operational excellence. Looking ahead, conditions are set to remain challenging for the oil and gas industry, and the unstable oil prices and forex rates will affect the group's performance. Wan Zulkifli says the oil and gas giant plans to continue investing for the future and highlights the recent expansion of its upstream portfolio through the acquisition of the Tartaruga Verde field in Brazil. He also notes that Petronas' efforts to venture beyond oil and gas has also made significant progress with its investments in renewables and specialty chemicals. Mellisa Airport's holdings reported a 66.4% slump in first quarter earnings as it spent more on utilities and maintenance. Net profit fell to 149.58 million ringgit from 444.59 million previously. Meanwhile, revenue rose 3% to 1.25 billion ringgit on the back of increased overall passenger growth. Reviewing its performance, MAHB says revenue from non-airport operations grew by 4% quarter-on-quarter due to stronger contribution from its project segment. In contrast, airport operations revenue fell by 0.2% on lower non-aeronautical revenue from its Turkey operations. The airport's operator remains upbeat on its prospects. It expects future seat capacity filings by airlines to remain above expectations and is optimistic that the projected 4.9% growth for 2019 will be achieved. Meanwhile, the domestic traffic correction and consolidation is seen continuing, while the international sector may also see improvement. MAHB adds that the recent grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX might have further negative impact on Indonesian carriers' capacity to Malaysia. Indonesia's airlines were seen cutting flight frequencies after the Lion Air crash in October 2018. However, the impact from this may not be significant, as most of the Indonesia sectors have competing airlines. Tan Sri Muhammad Baki Saleh is retiring as Sime Darby Plantations Executive Deputy Chairman and Managing Director effective June 30th. Taking over his position is his deputy Muhammad Helmi Othman Bashar. 64-year-old Baki has served the Sime Darby Group for nearly 9 years, since he first joined as its acting president and group CEO in 2010. Separately, Sime Darby Plantation announced that its first quarter net profit had plummeted by 70.3% to 74 million ringgit on weaker CPO and palm kernel prices and higher finance costs. On top of that, it also saw a one-off net gain of 26 million ringgit in the 3 months ended March 31st, 2018. revenue fell 17.8% to 3.01 billion ringgit. The group said it has changed its financial year end to December 31st from June 30th, so its first quarter FY19 is not comparable with first quarter FY18, but it can be compared with the 3 months that ended March 31st, 2018. The NTUC National says it remains focused on resolving complaints of overcharging, a day after Mastek warned it would still be fining the utility giant even after it manages to rectify the issue. TNB CEO Amir Hamzah Azizan says the problem stemmed from a 5-day downtime as it worked to fix a glitch in its system on May 15th. He adds that the company is pulling out all the stops to address the problem, including extending the working hours for Kedai Tenaga outlets and Careline hotlines, and setting up a special task force headed by Chief Retail Officer Megat Jalaluddin Megat Hassan. He says it has resolved 11,331 out of the 14,469 complaints received since last month, and that it is investigating the remainder. Asked to comment on Minister Yeo Bee Yin's statement about TNB getting penalised by the Energy Commission, Amir Hamzah said he would attend to that later.